I think it's really important that other women see other women doing incredible things as it relates to strength. And I decided I wanted to write the book after I beat a world record in kettlebells. When I did that, it was really my moment to feel like, wow, I can do really challenging things. And if I can do this, I need other women to start believing that they can.
Hey everyone, and welcome. I am Morgan Giss-McDonald, founder, CEO of Paper Raven Books. And I have with us today a super special guest who is launching a book in the fitness world for women. The book is called Kettlebell Catalyst, the exercise guide for women to build strength, lean muscle, and self-confidence to overcome limiting beliefs. And the author, you are going to love hearing from this author because she is a hardstyle kettlebell coach and entrepreneur. Her mission is to help other women overcome limiting beliefs by mastering kettlebells. I know, right? Colleen Conlon, I am so excited to have you here. Thank you for being here, Colleen.
Thank you so much for having me, Morgan.
So this is amazing. I mean, I have to admit, as soon as I hear the title, like Kettlebell Catalyst, I'm like, whoa, what is happening? What is in this book, Colleen, and who did you write it for?
There is a lot going on in this book. Part of it is tutorials on mastering the big 6 hardstyle exercises, which are the swing, the snatch, the clean, the press, the Turkish get up, and the clean. The other part is all of these stories from women that I have been working with over the years on their kettlebell journeys, how everything started for them and how it's been progressing. And then we have other things that we talk about, such as how to heal past trauma with the help of hardstyle kettlebell exercises. We talk about chakras. I bring in one of my clients who happens to be a survivor as well as a mental health specialist. And we talk about how there's such a huge psychological benefit from training with kettlebells. So there's a lot going on in this book. And for somebody who is really looking to make a change, not just a physical change, but also a mental change, trying to get a little bit stronger in both of those areas, this is really just an incredible book to get started.
Why kettlebells? What is special about kettlebells?
Kettlebells changed my life.
Please tell us.
Yeah, so I remember when I was in middle school, my best friend pulled me aside one day and she said, everybody would like you so much better if you were skinnier. And then she pulled me into the bathroom and she taught me how to make myself throw up. So I struggled with bulimia for about a decade. I used to wake up super early before school as a middle schooler to burn 1,000 calories so that I felt like I could eat something during the day. I really thought of exercise as punishment in order to be small, because I thought I needed to be small in order to be accepted by other people. Then fast forward, I find kettlebells totally by accident. And I realized that the only person that I need to feel accepted by is myself. And that's really what kettlebells taught me, that I'm incredible. I love myself for who I am. And just spending time doing something so hard, so technical, things that I was never told I was capable of doing growing up was just extremely empowering for me. At this point in my life, you know, I'm doing all these things that I never thought I would do, such as running a virtual 6-figure kettlebell business from a small little room in the middle of Arizona, and writing a book for the first time. I mean, I never thought that this was going to be my life. If anybody told me this, you know, a few years ago, I wouldn't have believed it. It's just incredible to see how much potential we all have once we truly see that it's unlocked.
So I'm also curious, Colleen, like this, it seems like such a unusual focus, you know, this not only kettlebells, but hard style kettlebells. Like when you work with women, what do they, when they come to you, like, what are they really seeking? What do they want to transform in their lives when they say, okay, Colleen, I want to learn hard style kettlebells?
I don't think any woman truly understands what it is until she's in the midst of it. I think, and I say this from just the experience, most of the time women reach out to me because they are looking to lose weight and get strong, whatever that definition is to them. It's almost typically never anything to do with lifting X amount of weight. They just want to like feel strong in their everyday. However, I truly believe that when you go through these big six exercises, you learn how to master them, not just with any size kettlebell, but with your testing size kettlebell. That is a specific size weight that is dictated by age, gender, and your weight. You start to feel, really strong. And byproducts of getting strong are dropping body fat, are increasing muscle mass. So a lot of the times when women come to me, it's typically due to aesthetics, but in training with kettlebells, I'm really putting them to the test to learn and be in an uncomfortable situation that is going to allow them to elevate themselves to a new level. Because I'll tell you, Morgan, I can't even tell you how many times I've asked women, please go buy a 20-kilo kettlebell. And then it arrives at their house and they're like, Colleen's crazy. She wants me to do what with this weight? But I mean, the thing is, with kettlebells, with hardstyle kettlebell technique, it is such an art form that, anybody can really show up to a HIIT class and do some type of a variation of a squat or a push-up or a burpee. When it comes to hardstyle kettlebell technique, you can't just snatch the kettlebell day one. There's like a whole process of things that you have to learn how to master in order to be in a place where you can do the big exercises. And that's something that I take really seriously, is building a super strong foundation, which is a lot of the stuff that we cover in this book, in order to make all of these women able to see incredible progress.
And what are some of the things that you see progress in? Because I mean, it would be very easy to say, oh yes, you lose weight and you get strong, but you also mentioned like healing trauma. What is happening when these women go through this kind of program with you?
Well, if we get a little like woo-woo, we have 7 chakras in our body. So those are just like these different energy spindles, and they go everywhere from the top of our head all the way down to our tailbone. A lot of times, when I say this, not from personal experience, I say this from experience from my clients and other colleagues who do have more of a background as it relates to overcoming sexual trauma specifically. But a lot of times what happens is, for people who have gone through these traumatic situations, they start to protect their bodies. So you might notice that somebody who is a survivor of a sexual assault, they try and make themselves a little bit smaller. They round their shoulders. They try to move about life in a way that doesn't bring a whole lot of attention to them. And typically when a sexual assault happens, something that starts to shut down is our sacral chakra. And that is all tied to our sexual health. So something that happens with these kettlebells is, in all of the exercises, we have to open our chest up. We have to keep our lats engaged. We can't hide ourselves. So we're starting to bring energy over to our heart chakra. As it relates to our sacral chakra, within kettlebells, there's so much of these ballistic patterns that almost kind of look like hip thrusts. You're not actually thrusting your hips, but it's very similar to a sexual pattern. And what's happening there is we're starting to re-energize that sacral chakra, and we're starting to bring healing and life back to those areas. I was actually talking to a colleague last week, and she was telling me how she was having one of her clients do Turkish get-ups, and she just started crying hysterically. She didn't know why. And I had shared that I had another client recently at a competition that I was hosting who was doing get-ups, and she just started crying. And I happen to know her history. And I know that her history, she is a survivor of a sexual assault. And, this is not an exact science, but there's something powerful to be said about what happens when we are opening up these areas that tend to get closed off when something traumatic has happened to us. So that's some of the stuff that we touch on in the book. We have a whole chapter dedicated to the chakras. And then my dear client, Jenna Boer, Dr. Jenna Boer, she goes into this whole chapter on how strength training can really heal the body, and specifically as it relates to hardstyle technique.
Wow. That's incredible to think about. And it makes sense, right? I mean, part of the strength that you're cultivating is not only a bodily strength, but that self-confidence piece that you mentioned. And so instead of like closing off and hiding, you're really kind of opening up and saying, actually, I feel confident enough to be seen. That's tremendous. And I'm also thinking of just like the timeliness that we really have this movement for women. And it's been building over years and decades, really, but like wanting to have more sort of self-determination, self-confidence, be seen in the world, be valued for who we are. And sometimes we don't really know where to start in that journey, individually or collectively. And sometimes it's the simplest things, like picking up a kettlebell and learning how to do exercises with it. I mean, do you feel like this is kind of a big question, but like, do you feel like this whole Kettlebell Catalyst is part of a bigger movement?
Absolutely. I think it's something that a lot of different strength coaches are starting to make note of, but it's not like fully on at this point. But there's a lot of people who are starting to put the pieces together. One of the coolest things about being in that strength training space is you have to open up. You have to make noise with your breath or you're going to get hurt. So you're kind of in a position where it's like, I'm not necessarily trying to bring a whole lot of attention to myself, but I have to be doing these things that my body doesn't necessarily want to do in order to stay safe. And then you get comfortable being in these positions. You get comfortable pulling your shoulders back, having a proud chest, looking straight on. And it's not just in the gym anymore. It's not just with your kettlebells. You start to walk into the office differently. You start to show up for a date differently. You start to interact with people just differently in a more confident way. And, you know, I've had many people ask, well, how do kettlebells give, you know, your women confidence? I mean, I don't understand how all of that doesn't make any sense to them. You know, when you keep practicing being in a position of a power stance, I feel like who talks about a power stance?
I want to say Mel Robbins has, but there may be other folks too.
So when we just like hold these powerful positions, we start to show up differently in our bodies. And it's no different than with these heavy weights attached to us while doing it.
I mean, I think you're exactly right. It's that posture of power and like getting more and more comfortable with that with practice. And you guys, if you're watching, if you're listening and you're sort of thinking, I'm curious about this, I'm curious about picking up a kettlebell and having this kind of transformation that we're talking about here. The good news is you can actually grab a copy of Colleen's brand new book for free. You can go to paperravenbooks.com/kettlebell catalyst, all one word, and it's linked up right next to this video. If you just want to click that link, it'll take you right over to Amazon. The book is available in ebook and physical version, and you can actually grab the ebook for free. It's on promotion right now. You can download it onto your Kindle, even if you're going to read it this weekend. Just go and get it right now while you're here and while you're thinking about it, and that way you can start to get curious and explore this world of kettlebells. And I would say if we've been thinking about getting in shape and we haven't really found the thing that works for us, or if we maybe are already a little bit fit and wanting to expand into other areas and types of fitness, this could be kind of the next thing for you to unlock. Go ahead and grab that while we're here and while we're thinking about it. Colleen, why did you feel called to write this book? You're a professional, right? You got your start in fitness in New York City, and now you're living in Arizona. As you said, you're running this kettlebell coaching business. Like, why the book? What prompted you to kind of write the book?
I think it's really important that other women see other women doing incredible things as it relates to strength. And I decided I wanted to write the book after I beat a world record in kettlebells. When I did that, it was really my moment to feel like, wow, I can do really challenging things. And if I can do this, I need other women to start believing that they can. Because I didn't grow up athletic. Again, you know, I had this eating disorder. I didn't see exercise as anything other than a punishment. And then I ended up having 4 abdominal surgeries, 3 of which happened when I was 17, within a month and a half of each other. I remember I was so upset after having these 3 surgeries because I couldn't sit up on my own. I couldn't bathe on my own. I couldn't walk on my own for about 3 months. I was doing all of this exercise before I went to school. And my exercise routine, it was primarily comprised of being on some type of a cardio machine and then doing lots and lots of crunches. And after having all of these surgeries, once I started doing my crunches again, I didn't feel my abs. I just felt my low back and the front of my neck. And I felt so broken. And it took years of continuing to train in a typical group fitness type of way before I found kettlebells. And the cool thing about kettlebells, specifically hardstyle, is other than the beginning part of the Turkish getup, nothing's done on the ground, everything's done up on your feet. And a lot of the exercises that you do with the kettlebell, you do with one arm at a time. So your obliques have to stabilize like crazy so that you have proper form and you don't feel things in your low back or incorrectly anywhere in your body. So the kettlebells were really incredible because I actually started getting sensation back in my abs. I was no longer in discomfort trying to train my abs. And it was like a hallelujah moment for me to see that there's something else that you can do and you can feel like really strong and powerful from it. I mean, I don't know about you, but like anytime I've been in a group fitness class doing, that 30th burpee, I'm just like ready to slit my throat and walk out. With kettlebells, it's almost like you have this privilege. Once you learn how to do all these exercises and you learn how to master them with each bell size along the way, when you understand how to use the breath, when you understand how to use tension, when you understand how to utilize ground reaction forces, you're basically at the red carpet and they open that gate for you and you get to go in with everybody else. You get to play with the big people. You have to learn how to do all of the little things to get there. But once you do, you get a privilege that people aren't just born with. And that's something that I love about this, because you can learn to train in a very unique, a very powerful way, a way that gives you incredible results if you learn the basics that you don't just show up and are able to do.
So you're thinking, I mean, I'm thinking of like, you say the doors really open for you to play at a bigger level. Are you thinking like even competition kinds of things where you learn the foundations of kettlebells and suddenly you're able to sort of be at a higher level within that sort of kettlebell community?
Sure. I mean, I see people all the time on social media doing whatever with kettlebells, very similarly to dumbbells, or they use like a very light kettlebell. And that's not what we're talking about in this book. We're learning, how do I breathe? How do I create tension? These are like two things that people don't really talk about, and it's not sexy. So you don't really see it on social media, even from people who give out incredible education. It's just like a hard thing to translate over. When you learn how to do these things, you're able to do some really incredible things with kettlebells, and you get to play at a bigger playing field than you ever thought before. Like I have a client who, oh my gosh, she was in my third round of swing to snatch, which is my 13-week kettlebell intensive. And that's where we like do a deep dive into all of the exercises that you read about in this book. And she had zero strength training background. She was a bigger girl, and she took a couple of like cycling classes and HIIT classes here and there. But I remember when she came into the course, her testing size bell is a 16-kilo bell, which is approximately 35 pounds. So that's what she's expected to do everything with in the first part of the course. And then by the end of the course, she's supposed to be able to do a lot of the skills with her 24-kilo, which is about 55 pounds. And that includes like setting the bell up over her head. And she just celebrated her 1-year anniversary with kettlebells this past summer. She went from like the weakest person I've seen in that course to being one of my number one clients. After she graduated the course, she went to get certified through RKC, which is a very big hardstyle kettlebell certification that like only trainers go to. Meanwhile, she's an auditor. Okay. She doesn't have a position within the fitness industry, but she was like, I just want to see if I can do this. And she ended up having to do all of the big 6 skills with her testing size bell with pristine form. She had to do a snatch test. A snatch test is where you have to snatch your testing size bell. So for her 35 pounds, she had to do 100 reps in 5 minutes. And she did everything she needed to. She got certified, and she actually recently moved out to Arizona. She's now my neighbor. And she's been at 2 of the kettlebell competitions that I have run. And she crushes it. She ranks up points for her teammates. She recently started working on flagging. Flagging is not a kettlebell skill. It's a bodyweight calisthenic. Imagine that you're hanging from a bar. So if you're hanging from a bar, you're vertical. So she can hang from the bar horizontally.
Oh my gosh.
She has lost a bunch of weight. She has gained a bunch of muscle and a bunch of strength. And it's just incredible to see that her whole life really changed in a year because she picked up that weight. It's really serious stuff. I mean, I think people have to go into learning how to use kettlebells with whatever weight they're comfortable with to an extent. But if your weight is too light, you're not going to be forced to need to use your breath or create this tension that you're not going to learn how to do these things, and you're really not going to see a whole lot of progress.
And so, I mean, that's an incredible story to think about. Someone with no background, an auditor, probably felt like she was coming to you to lose weight. And then not only did she achieve that goal, but she was like, well, dang, I'm just going to keep going. And now she's certified, competition, just these really incredible sort of physical results. And I'm sure she would say, you know, emotional and psychological results too. I mean, to completely change your life like that just because you picked up a kettlebell and learned how to use it is just phenomenal. And Colleen, something that's really special about this book is that you, like, if I were to, so I don't have a lot of experience with kettlebells. I'm now super curious. So let's say I pick up Kettlebell Catalyst. Do you kind of walk me through the introductory stuff to get started?
Yes, we talk about every time I keep mentioning to you, Morgan, breath, intention, we talk about it a bunch. And it's one of those things where if you're listening to this right now, please do not overlook that part in the book, because if you do, it's not going to make sense. I teach these skills a lot. And the people who pay attention to the breathing, is it a slow grind exhale? Is it a ballistic exhale? Am I creating the tension in my lats, or are my arms just kind of hanging out like noodles? That stuff really matters if you're going to be able to do the skills that I'm asking you to do in the book with the bell sizes that I'm suggesting you use. So the little details really matter. We talk a lot about the little details. We talk about how to set up form. There are videos that you get to follow along with as well, just to make sure you understand the description, you understand the pictures, but you can also see everything happening in real time.
Amazing. So it's more than a book. It's a whole experience. It's a kettlebell experience. So what was it like to write the book? I mean, you, of course, have coached people and taught classes and trained groups, but then you sit down in front of a computer and start typing words. What was that writing experience like for you?
The writing experience for me was, it felt so much like what I do day to day. I mean, I spent a lot of time talking about this stuff again and again and again to new clients. I have courses where it's a lot of the same information. On social media, I reiterate a lot of this stuff. But the cool thing about the book is everything is just right there in one place. So you don't have to look around for, when does Colleen talk about tension on her website? When does she talk about breath on social media? Everything that you need to know to get started with Hardstyle Kettlebell Technique, it's right there in the book. And you also have all of these different women who are sharing their stories in the book, which is so cool. I didn't touch any of the stories. And it's really cool to me because everybody comes from a different walk of life. We have stay-at-home moms, and we have high-powered business women. We have trainers. We have people in their 20s. We have people up in their 50s. We have people all over the place just sharing their stories. And it's really incredible to see how kettlebells have impacted their lives.
That's amazing. So going through everything that you've gone through to prepare the book for release, you said earlier you never envisioned yourself like writing and launching a book, but here you are, having written and now preparing to launch a book. Are there any lessons that you've learned? Like maybe if you picture a younger version of Colleen, is there any encouragement or words of wisdom that you might offer kind of a younger version of Colleen?
When the teachers make you feel really bad because you're a terrible speller, it's okay. There's professionals to help you later in life.
That's amazing. And it's so true. Like we get so down in our own self-confidence about like, oh, I'm not great at English, but it's like, well, that's what editors are for.
Well, fun fact, Morgan, I grew up in the state of Vermont, and the school that I went to was a believer in inventive spelling. So you had to spell the words the way that they sound. And then I moved 13 times before I went to college. So I really struggled with grammar and English as a whole. I had to take a rudimental English course in college with a bunch of foreign exchange students to start to understand the English language a little bit more. So your team has been really helpful in making it sound like I know my language.
Well, I mean, when you start with inventive spelling as your foundation in English, that's an uphill battle for sure. But you've overcome, and now you're an author. Like that.
I know, it's crazy. I never thought I would get to add author to my resume, but the whole reason that I wanted to write this is because I just wanted more women to have access to this information. When we were initially getting started, me and the Paper Raven team, there really weren't a whole lot of books out there that were written by women on the topic of hardstyle kettlebell technique. And the thing that I've noticed, and I've been talking to my coach about it, who's been with the whole kettlebell movement since the early 2000s when it kicked off here in the US. More women are starting to get into this type of training, but it's still relatively new. I just wanted to make sure that there was a book. You can go pay less than $30 for all of the information that you need in one place to get started and see if you like it. Because that's the thing with kettlebells. Let me explain it this way. So you know how anybody can cook an egg?
Yeah.
But if you were to go to French culinary school, they would probably be really specific about like, no, the pan needs to be turned to this level of heat and you need to use butter instead of Pam and you need to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
It's very much like that. This type of training is an art form when done correctly. And if you want to get into it, and it's hard, it's not for everybody, but everybody can benefit from it if you're willing to take the time to learn.
Would you say like we get a copy of the book and we pick up a kettlebell size that you recommend and that is enough to really get going?
You're going to pick up 3 kettlebells.
Okay. What are the 3 kettlebells? I'm already thinking.
Listed in the book. It's all based on age and weight. In the book, it's all very much specifically catered towards women. So all of the recommendations are there. And there's 3 different size kettlebells that I recommend for the woman getting started with this book. But yeah, that's all you need.
It takes to transform your life. That's amazing. If you guys are curious and you're like, I want to know what 3 kettlebells I could start with to get this amazing transformation. Good news is you can grab a free copy of the book right now. paperravenbooks.com/kettlebell catalyst, all one word. There's a link right next to this video. Click that, takes you on over to Amazon. You can pick up a copy of the book in whatever form you prefer, and you can grab the ebook for free right now. Load it on your Kindle, get it ready for the weekend. Colleen, any other words for our readers? Any encouragement for the women who pick up a copy of your book and kind of start this journey?
Yeah. For the woman who's picking this up, I know right now you want to make a change. And I know it's not just a physical change. I know there's something deeper that's going on. And I want you to know that where you are right now, so long as you start reading this book, you're not going to be there anymore. You're going to start moving forward. And all you have to do is just keep reading that page, one word at a time, taking action in the chapters that give you those tutorials, and life is going to change.
Amazing. That's amazing. You guys, now's the time. Grab a copy of the book, click the link next to this video. You can check out more about Colleen at colleenconlon.com. Got all sorts of great resources for women and fitness and your journey. So check that out. Thank you so much for being here, Colleen.
Thank you very much for having me.
And we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.